Good old one-handed start the show failed me, guys. Good morning. This is Captain Calhoun, and you are on the lifeboat. Welcome in, guys. Welcome in, welcome in. I live for now. Indigo's Insights, Flick Fox. Wonderful to see you this morning. I am pretty stoked to share this new setup with you. We have some fun stuff, interesting things to talk about today regarding the future of the boat, as well as the wonderful topic of codependency, which I think is a word that gets thrown around a lot in today's society. Does not mean that you're just dependent on somebody. It's far more than that. It's a mental obsession, and we'll get into that. We'll get into that quite a bit here in just a minute. We're going to do some roll call. We're going to let people show up before we get into the meat and potatoes. I do love a good potato. Lori Abs, good morning. I'm so glad you're here. Jason P., my man. Tommy Bird, Charlie Mullins, good to see you guys. TKK, hello, hello. Laura Lou, I love your name. I don't know why. It just feels right rolling off the tongue, you know? Shaza 1960, hello, welcome in, my friend. It's going to be a great day, guys. I have to say, my first full day back in my house was amazing. I spent a lot of time rearranging and doing pest control and whatnot, but man, it feels so much better in the corner. I've got my little window over here. I can see the door. I did some research on feng shui. I am not sure exactly if I believe or not, but it does feel much more comfortable setting up according to the rules of feng shui. Hope Between the Dreams, good to see you. Indigo's Insights, hello. I live for now. Yeah, it's a beautiful day, guys. Robin Miners, Auntie Robin's in the house. Galen, upgrading to lieutenant. Thank you for your support, my friend. Good morning. Been looking for a while and decided to join. I'm glad you did. I'm pretty stoked about what we've got coming up here in the near future, which we're about to talk about. Kathy Ann, hello. Jane Aldrich, can't think of a better name. Roberta, Kristen Melinda, Dale Cox. Heck yeah, guys. Heck yeah. Deeming. Yeah, Shannon Smith, hello, hello. Yeah, guys. So, I wonder what we should talk about first. You know, this codependency thing, I've been watching my dad do the show for a long time, since he started doing it. And I don't know if I fully understood codependency. And maybe I'm still learning to understand more, right? But I definitely didn't fully understand when this whole boat thing started. And through watching my dad, it's made a whole lot more sense to me. It's very plainly laid out. Let me pull these notes up. Because codependency is basically being addicted to a relationship or a person, right? Trading whatever we were addicted to for being in someone's presence, listening to someone talk, right? Coming and hanging out with a certain person. And that is going to be how, if we're codependent, that's how we're getting our endorphin dumps, right? That's how we're turning the switch in our brain. And this isn't necessarily a good thing. You may be drawing value from this codependent relationship, right? Which is also not a good thing. We want to create our own value, and which is the basis for how we break codependent patterns and habits, right? But anyways, back to my dad. I've been seeing people get addicted to my dad, which isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world, right? We're not sticking needles in our arm. We're not putting the crack pipe in our mouth. But this is I think, a good example of codependency. People show up to hang out with my dad, to hear him talk, right? And, you know, there is a good message. There is things that there are good reasons to be here. But I think that is a very innocent example of codependency, right? We traded whatever we were turning that switch with for showing up to the lifeboat, for example, right? And I've actually been noticing this phenomenon kind of happen with me too. And I don't want to paint this as necessarily a bad thing. Codependency isn't what we want, right? But this is a great example of codependency in I don't think a very destructive way, right? But let's change the stakes. Let's say there's a term that we used to have when I was growing up called homie hopper, and there was also a term referring to the other sex. We used to call people Captain Save a Ho, and I think these words kind of sound fun, right? But what these titles refer to are people that move from one relationship to the next. Maybe they feel uncomfortable being alone, whatever the case may be, right? And I'm not calling anybody that. I thought it would be fun to share these old words, but maybe not the best way, maybe not the best words to share. Regardless, um, these people are in codependent relationships constantly because whatever the case may be, probably that they don't want to deal with their own stuff so much that they would rather make someone else's stuff, someone else's baggage and drama, the center, the focus of all of their thinking and doings, right? And when you realize that, it becomes very difficult to move forward in that manner, right? When you realize that you're not dealing, I remember when I realized this, I'm not dealing with any of the things that I need to deal with because the relationship between me and Lucy is too important. It's so important it trumps all else. And that was the moment that I started sacrificing, or pardon me, that was the moment I stopped sacrificing pieces of me for the greater relationship, right? When I realized that I was not dealing with my stuff because I was so busy dealing with our stuff, with her stuff, to be real, right? I guess it was our stuff. I'll be humble today. Um, then I stopped cutting off my toes, right? I stopped cutting off my fingers, metaphorically. But I was giving pieces of myself away for that, right? The codependent relationship. It is a mental obsession. This is not a physical dependency. It's different from a lot of substance addictions that we talk about because there's not really a physical aspect, right? We do have our body responds to this stimulus. We do have physical reactions, but as far as like a physical dependency, that's not something that is going to be a part of a codependent relationship. Kathy Ann says parasocial relationships are one-sided relationships where one person extends emotional energy, interest, and time, and the other party, the persona, is completely unaware of the other's existence. Interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard that term before, parasocial. Interesting. I feel like I'm incapable of being in a relationship like this because I the non-reciprocation bugs me. We've talked about living transactionally and having transactional relationships, and I try not to do that because I don't think it's very healthy. But at the same time, if I'm not getting any sort of reciprocation at all, there's probably not for me. It makes me feel very strange. So I don't know if I would ever find myself there. Dale Cox, good morning, my man. Rick Spicer, hello, hello. I'm going to go back up and read Indigo's comments. I saw them scroll by. Brianna Miller, good morning. Love seeing you in the morning. In the morning. Energy flow is absolutely a real thing. Oh, we're talking about the feng shui. I recently switched my bed and desk and it made 2,000 times a difference in how the room felt. I also may be moving my bedroom around, but sleeping is so comfortable right where it's at. I might do some slight adjustments in there. Indigo's Insights also comments codependent dynamics can get so toxic it creates a situation that puts the responsibility of your emotion value onto another person instead of you taking accountability on yourself. This might explain some things for me. I like that definition a lot. Aquarius Yaya, good morning. Life is a dreamin'. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Life is a Dream says, I am not codependent and am single and get addicted to nobody. That's very good. That's very good. One of the ways, if we realize that we are in a codependent situation, one of the ways that we work through that, start to move out of that, is by forming a relationship with ourselves, right? Strengthening a bond with yourself, getting to know yourself very well, becoming a little bit more independent, right? I have to say, for me personally, feeling not independent, feeling like I need someone else for something, regardless of the depth or magnitude, bothers me. Just in my heart, soul, in my core, I don't like depending on others. Fiercely independent, although I do depend on others quite frequently for things. I am not in a position yet where I'm completely independent, but I'm constantly striving for that. Now, I forgot what I was talking about. Oh my! Oh yeah, forming a relationship with ourselves. The way that I become more independent, the way that I started that was by forming a relationship with myself. I mean, we don't want to isolate because it's dangerous, right? But I spent a whole lot of time with myself. I spent a whole lot of time dealing with my emotions and sitting with them instead of running off and and trying to outrun them, because you never can, right? Brr, 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 brr. And we also, on top of building a relationship with ourselves, we really want to unlearn dysfunctional behaviors. If we're in a codependent relationship, or if we have codependent patterns of behavior, we most likely have dysfunctional behaviors that tie into this. We most likely have patterns of behaving that lead us to this place, or patterns of thinking that lead us to this place, right? When are we doing the tincture spanks? Let's let me see what the time is, huh? Let's give it another 20. Towards the end of the show is better for me, because then I don't cramp at the end. Yo, everything is spicier in Tucson. I went and had some chicken yesterday, or maybe it was the night I got back, and it was just the whatever regular heat habanero, honey habanero chicken. It was so friggin' hot. Honey habanero. I had some honey habanero stuff in Utah, and it barely tickled me. And this stuff across the street was just lit me up. And I love that. I love Tucson, and I love Tucson's spice, I have to say. Dale, I do not bug my dad. Bug my dad about it. He's got to come down today. I just got off the phone with him. He's running around doing crazy stuff, but eventually he's going to come down here and bring that to me. I would go get it, but I had to do so many things yesterday. Maybe today I can make my way up there. If I had a vehicle, this would not be an issue, Dale. I had a lot of thoughts just then. Just a moment of silence for my brain. Marcy Pokes, good morning. Elevation makes a difference with how you experience flavors and spice. Interesting. I wonder if things are less spicy in a higher elevation, because that's what I was experiencing. You're allowed to depend on others for things, says Flick. I think it just, when it gets to the point you can't function on your own without that person, obviously that line gets very blurry when a partner passes. Absolutely. And, honestly, that line is not so easy to identify, especially, I mean, I don't I don't date a ton, but it's every relationship is different and unique. It's sometimes hard to identify exactly what dynamics we're experiencing until we've experienced them for a little bit, right? But I will say things should feel, I don't want to say effortless, but things shouldn't be such a struggle, Obviously, if we care about a person, we want to work through things, right? We want to try and salvage, et cetera, et cetera. But things shouldn't be difficult all the time. If they are, it's probably a sign that, it might not be a sign that you're codependent. Maybe you are, right? But it is definitely a sign that things are not going as they should. And Hummingbird, good morning. Good to see you. Met your newest grandson, huh? Congratulations. You can pull out the Molesky for a new member of the family, huh? Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I'm going to switch gears for a second and we'll come back to codependency, because I like to do that. So, speaking of, Galen, becoming a lieutenant. Thank you very much. Congratulations as well. But back when we first started this thing, we talked about doing members only content, rewarding the people that subscribe and whatnot. And then my dad made the first members only video, and it really hit him in the heart that he's making content to try and help people, to try and save people. But when you make members only content, you're saying, I want to help people, but if you can't, pay this much money, then, it's not for you. So that really hurt, right? That's not the idea. That's not what we're trying to do here. So we've come up with a different idea on how to reward subscribers and people that support the channel. Y'all have been a part of some of the Zoom calls we've done, some of the call-in shows. I think that moving forward, probably in the month of October, most likely, we're going to do some call-in deals where people that support the channel can get on face to face with the admiral, And I think that that'll be really cool. I think that's a really good use of that Zoom call thing that we had going. So if you are a supporter of the channel and you do want to hang out and get a little face to face with the Admiral or myself, look for that in October. I'm really excited to finally show some gratitude in a specific way for people that support the channel, but also not, my dad's really bad at regulating stuff. So I imagine that no matter what your support is, I'm sure that he's gonna want to hang out with you. So that being said, good morning, Yadira. Good to see you, Carla Norris. Always a pleasure. Long name for a tiny little guy. That's cute. Mimi, good morning. Let's put some ones up for all who need it. Thank you for reminding me. Sometimes life feels like someone put square wheels on a rollerblade without us noticing. It definitely does, Tommy. How are you, by the way? Hopefully this isn't what life's feeling like right now, huh? I would hope not. But if it is, I'm sure we'll make it through. Tina Marie, good to see you. So, we want to unlearn dysfunctional behaviors that may be contributing, right? And we're going to do this by being present in the moment and recognizing, like we initially set out to, all right, I want to identify these dysfunctional behaviors that might be contributing. So when I catch myself being codependent, or when I catch myself in that tizzy, right? I need to serve this person. I need to figure out why we're arguing right now. Whatever the case is, when you're feeling that surge of need, maybe identify, like take a step back in your mind and think about it. Like, hey, what exactly is going on? Why am I doing this? What exactly am I doing? And through that, we'll start to unlearn dysfunctional behaviors, and then we can learn how to create mutually healthy relationships, which is basically the opposite of codependency, right? Learning how to create a mutually healthy relationship, one that we're both benefiting from, one where we don't necessarily require each other, right? But we're grateful to have each other. People, places, and things. If you worry that you may be exhibiting code, to assess the relationships in your life, right? What's working? What isn't? Um, there is a feeling associated with codependency, at least in my experience, and it's that very heightened um, desire, that need. It's like a tunnel vision of the heart. It's very, very interesting feeling. It kind of feels similar to rage in a sense where this emotion is like all that matters right now, right? But it's a very different. It's not rage, right? It's not anger. It's love, which is it's like a twisted version of love. It's like an obsession, right? But if you pay attention and stay present, you can learn to identify this feeling. It's very distinct from other emotions, right? And if you're having that in a particular relationship or with a particular person, it might be worthy of assessing, right? Is this relationship worth keeping? Now, we don't have to completely do away with the relationship, especially depending. It might be infatuation is a great word for it, Brown and Miller. Thank you very much. But infatuation itself is not unhealthy, right? We can have infatuation. That's totally fine. But the actions that come next are very, very important, right? Are we serving ourselves? Are we serving both of us? Are we what's the focus? Are we focused on solving this person's problems? Or are we focused on what's important? Mo Love, good to see you. Welcome back. I want out of my relationship so much, but I literally can't leave. Like, he won't let me drive or even get an up-to-date driver's license. Interesting. When I want to talk to you about this, but I feel like all the questions that I want to ask might be too intrusive or something. Um, I would love to talk to you about this, Mo. This is a terrible position to be in, and I don't want you to be in this position. Do you have family? Yeah, hit me with that email. Let's have a dialogue, pretty please. Don't put it here. Do I have you on socials? Brr, 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 brr. Let's see here. Let's see here. Do you have family, Molov? It's a strange question. I just don't know how else to ask. I want to suggest that you get family help. You know what I mean? Someone get you out of there. And this is without, like, I don't know if there's any abuse or anything like that going on, but the fact that he's controlling like that is not what we want, right? They told you the best thing about you is your choice of husband. I don't like your family very much. I hope that's okay for me to say. Yeah, I don't like them. No, I don't think I like him either. Well, let me give you my email and we'll start there because everyone has mine. Please email me. I mean, obviously, if you don't want to, don't, right? But I would love to talk to you about this, and maybe we can find some sort of solution, or at least like a direction to start walking, right? I'm sure that you do not want to be corralled, right? I'm sure that you don't want to live like that. I mean, I think that's really cool, but I know that these things come with some not so cool things behind them, which is unfortunate. I have some friends that kind of grew up like this, and they don't speak very highly of it, although they can do some pretty cool ballet stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Please, 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 please email me. If you don't, I'm going to be worrying about you. Mo, it's not as useful, but you don't need a driver's license to drive like a Vespa or a. I mean, I guess that's not necessarily a solution. What are you going to drive out of town 25 miles an hour? Anyways, forget I said that. I'm just trying to come up with solutions, but yeah, let's talk about it later on. I would love to try and help you with this. It's great. I'm so glad we chose to talk about codependency today. This is perfect. Is this relationship worth keeping, right? Good Lord, Mo. I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, you need to get out of there as soon as possible. TKK says, are you Scandinavian? In case I'm Swedish and have people who can help. Yeah, much love, Mo. Hmm. Okay. My brain is just churning ideas now. Is this relationship worth keeping? Not so easy to just leave a relationship, right? Especially, if you have a long-term relationship, maybe you're married, right? Maybe it hasn't always been this way, maybe it has, whatever the case. Maybe it's a toxic relationship with a narcissist, an abuser, or an addict, alcoholic, right? Regardless, if it's more complicated than just assessing and then walking away, we may need to practice some self-care, some detachment. We may need to create some space for ourselves so that we can reclaim some independence until we're ready to leave officially, right? And this can look like a lot of things. This can look like moving out of the house. This can look like spending much less time at the house, right? This can look like, let me think of some other examples, huh? This can look like getting a new hobby and then just diving into it, right? So that we can form a relationship with ourselves, reclaim some independence, like I was just saying, until we have the confidence, the knowledge, the presence of mind to make effective decisions in either leaving or switching course, whatever the case may be, right? I believe in you, Mo. You definitely can. Um, and we're gonna make it happen. Lacey Silver, good morning. And also in times like this, what's going on in your body, right? whenever I'm in doubt, whenever I'm having reactions or I'm having very intense feelings, I just take a second and I check in, like, what exactly, excuse me, what exactly is this? If you're an empath, whatever you're feeling might not be yours, right? Especially if we're very present, if we're getting really good at practicing that presence of mind, it becomes very easy to tell the difference between my stuff and someone else's stuff. If you're an empath, you could walk into a room and just start feeling all kinds of crazy. But, in reality, someone else is having a really rough experience right now, and you're just somehow picking up on that like a TV antenna. And this is real. This might sound fancy and funny, but I tell you what, walking into a funeral is rough for me. I have to literally protect myself. And maybe it's all in my head, but hey, the power of the mind is super powerful. Y'all have heard of the placebo effect. My brain can make things real. So regardless, I don't know if it's real or not, but it's real for me. And when I need to, I just say out loud or maybe just in my head, I protect. And I just envision myself protected. This also, I know, sounds very silly, but for empaths, this tool, this method is invaluable. If you are an empath and you have a hard time separating your energy from other people's, your feelings from other people's, try this. You don't have to say it out loud and feel embarrassed or whatever, but maybe you want to, right? I definitely say it out loud. It makes me feel like I'm speaking it into existence. But just tell yourself, whether in your heart, your mind, out of your mouth, I protect me. I protect. I'm protected. Whatever the case, whatever feels right. Um, and I swear by this. This is a huge boon for empaths. Tammy Hilton, good morning. Prescience of moment. I'm an empath. Fantastic. You are in the right place. Marcy Pokes is an empath. You need to learn the method. It's very, very simple. I have friends that will say it out loud. I have friends that will envision like a bubble around them of protection. I have everybody kind of does it their own way. But the key part is just I protect. It's the intention, right? I don't need to say it out loud, but I do because it helps me be direct with my intention. But if you know the feeling, you can just think it and feel it like I am protected. Boom. Money. And then just go about your just keep going about your day. It might take a few times, it might take a little bit of practice, but this changed my life. 100%. You do have the ability to regulate your energy versus other people's energies. 100%. There you go, Tammy, just like that. Bang. How does that feel, by the way? We've got a first timer over here. That's awesome. I love this. This is so great. My absolute pleasure, Tammy. Sometimes I feel weird about sharing stuff like that, but that kind of stuff has literally changed my life. So I'm gonna try real hard not to not feel weird about it in the future, guys. All right. Sometimes I wish I wasn't an empath, says Brianna Miller. It's definitely a blessing and a curse. I tell you what. I bet you most of the folks on the boat are empaths. Honestly, I would not be surprised. Uh, there's something about feeling things very deeply and substance abuse that correlate for some reason. And again, I know not all of us are substance abuse have substance abuse history, but there's some correlation between feeling things so deeply and running from those feelings, right? Or trying to bury them, etc., etc. Hmm. Mary Reno, good to see you. Hello, hello. Ooh, I just clicked on what I did not want to click on. This is awesome. This is great. So at this part of the show, I wrote down boundaries. We may put that off for tomorrow because boundaries can be its own little conversation, its own episode. But I guess we'll talk about it briefly, right? We want to get in tune with our emotions and our feelings, right? We want to separate what's ours from other people's. Learn to distinguish what's going on in my body, right? Why am I feeling this? Where is this coming from? When it's mine, it's usually pretty obvious, right? Because there's something going on in my life. Sometimes I remember when I first started practicing this, I had a very hard time. Um, like I knew what I was feeling, right? I knew I was feeling this, but I had no idea why. And honestly, this partly was because of the empathicness and not protecting myself properly, but also I didn't have good boundaries. Also, what was I going to say? Oh, it was so good. I didn't have practice discerning, right? I hadn't practiced. It was very difficult for me to explain why I felt this way. My life was in shambles in so many different ways. It could have been a myriad of reasons, right? But there really is just a couple of reasons why I'm feeling a certain way. And in order to feel better, I have to assess each of those situations. Like, if this is causing me to feel like this needs to be assessed, right? So it was a struggle. It was a crawl in the beginning of trying to be present and like realize at first it was just I'm feeling like this and I have no idea why. And in those cases, I would call my dad or I would call a friend and I would talk about it. And usually, when I'm expressing those things vocally, it would become obvious pretty quickly why I was feeling a certain way. And that's how I started, was by using my peers, right? Using my friend, using my dad, using someone on the boat, right? Talk to someone about these feelings if you're having a hard time discerning why they're there. Like, why am I feeling like this? If you don't have an answer to that, share those emotions with someone you trust, and it will help. Also, it's kind of like journaling. Sharing that with somebody, if you also just want to write those feelings down, it's kind of like having a conversation with yourself that also may help you understand where that feeling's coming from, right? Which we need to know in order to address it, right? I'm constantly checking in with myself. And again, I just said this. Remember, we each are each other's resources. We all have walked a path. We all are forward looking and like minded, right? And we all have a unique story to tell. So please, please, please don't forget to use each other as resources. Ask each other questions. Get on the phone and have a conversation for fun, whatever, right? Don't do anything outside of your comfort zone unless you intend to, right? Unless you're trying to expand your comfort zone, right? Don't do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. But, we are here to connect. This is the connection channel. So don't be shy to reach out to someone on the boat and just have a chat, right? It doesn't have to be anything serious either. Bum, 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 bum. And through all of this, through forming relationships with ourselves, forming proper boundaries, we're going to build self trust. And this is a huge game changer. Being able to trust myself. So, we were just talking about not being able to discern why I'm feeling a certain way. I went from that to like being trusting myself so much. Like, if I feel this kind of way, I know exactly what's going on. If I feel this kind of way, I know exactly what's going on. It's come to a point where I'm synchronizing, is that the right word? Synchronizing with myself very, very effectively. I'm very in tune with myself, I guess is a better way to say that, right? So now it's not such a slog. It's not such a crawl when I'm sifting through these emotions and figuring it out. But that's not saying that if I stop journaling and I stop using my peers as support and I stop telling my dad what's going on inside of my heart, if I stop doing the things that are keeping things in order, it's going to become very difficult very quickly. These problems will stack and multiply, right? So, and it doesn't have to be constant work. It can just be a little bit of constant effort and keep things moving. Yeah, trusting your own perceptions are key. That is what I have for codependency. What do you guys think? Was that helpful? You getting out of here, Ann? I hope you have a great day. I've taken to listening to pardon me, lo-fi covers in the morning. So it'll be like popular songs, like anything from, you guys know that song, I'm blue. They have that song in lo-fi, or like Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers, lo-fi version. So my mornings are very chill, somewhat catchy, filled with coffee and lifeboat. It's been I think this is going to be my new morning routine. The lo-fi covers. And Tammy, we will be talking about boundaries tomorrow. I wasn't sure if I was going to do boundaries tomorrow. I knew that boundaries came up at the end of the show. So I think it will be good to do boundaries tomorrow. We can take a more in-depth look. We could talk about boundaries for shows and shows and shows. It's a very in-depth topic. There's a lot of different ways to look at it, right? But really, the meat and potatoes of it is about intentions. and then separating like what needs separating. So we'll get into that tomorrow morning in depth. I have a lot to say about boundaries. It's one of my favorite shows. Boundaries, intentions, all of these things are very, very important and kind of go hand in hand. Mo says, I don't really know what an empath is. Do you ever walk into a room, like let's say you walk into a restaurant, a bar, a funeral, a church procession, I don't know, just a gathering of people, and you feel like a wave of emotions hit you? Does that ever happen to you? If the answer is yes, then you may be an empath. Empathic means the word empathic refers to being able to like sense others' emotions, basically. If you end up going to Thailand, be careful. It can be a dangerous place, but I hear great things. My godfather, I don't know if that's the right word. Someone very close to our family disappeared in Thailand, never to return. No body, no nothing. I don't mean to freak anybody out, but it's definitely not. It's not a first world country, that's for sure. Oh, we could talk about empathicness forever. Maybe I'll do a show on empathy. I remember learning in, I think it was my senior year, the types of appeals, ethos, pathos. I can't really share that information because I don't have it in my head anymore, but it was a very interesting literary device that they were talking about. When the someone writing a book, when the narrator or the writer appeals to the reader's sense of empathy or their sense of logic or their sense of justice, or I forget what the three were, but very interesting stuff. Certain words, certain sentences structured in certain ways can appeal to your heart differently, or appeal to your mind differently, or appeal to your ethics, right? Your moral value differently. Very, very interesting. I feel everything all the time, all at once, says Mo Love. Well, you're definitely an empath, and you're probably an empath that doesn't, that has never learned to separate yours from other people's. And I have to say, once you do, which you are completely capable of doing, it's actually not as difficult as it sounds. And I'm sure from the standpoint of never having done that, it probably looks a little intimidating and maybe out of reach. But I have to tell you, Mo, it's real easy to learn and put into practice, and it will change your life. Learning to separate, and it'll take a little bit of time, right? But we can implement these practices immediately and start noticing differences immediately as well. It's just a gradual, you get better and better at it as we practice, but separating, learning to differentiate like between my energy and other people's, my emotions and other people's is a big deal because, we can't possibly handle everyone's emotions all the time. It'll destroy us, especially, if you're an empath, which it definitely seems that you are, you're going to feel things extra intensely. And if you're taking everyone's energy upon yourself, it becomes very, very heavy. And I speak this from experience. Maybe if I disconnected myself from him and like he makes me feel so bad for him when I talk about leaving or wanting independence, so I don't go. This is classic narcissist. Um, I forget what the term is, but basically guilting you into staying, huh? I think Tammy brings up a very good point. Often these things are related to trauma, related to post traumatic stress, are related to, you know, having really rough experiences, right? So it's never as simple as the words that I pull out of the box, right? When we open the box, it's never as simple as just the parts inside of it, right? There's always contributing factors. There's always a baggage and a journey that led here, right? So with a grain of salt, be gentle with yourselves, right? Be especially when we're making big changes, when we're trying to assess why all of this stuff's going on in our lives, let's definitely be gentle and patient with ourselves, right? I want to change right now. I want to have what I want, and I want to have it right now, right? That's definitely me. Um, but it won't serve in this capacity. We definitely need to be patient, love ourselves, be grateful, like for the little wins, because again, we're not going to just change our lives in the moment immediately, right? It takes a little bit of practice, a little bit of getting, a little bit of going. Loving failure, good to see you. Thanks for popping in. I really appreciate that. Good. Separating yourself from the situation works, says Life is a Dream, and this is my go-to. When all else fails, I'll just remove myself from the situation so I can think properly, so I can calm down, right? Tina Marie, what are we talking about? Joanne Ventrilla, good morning. I am an empathic intuitive. I connect to the other side. Well, welcome in. That's really cool to hear. I often have wondered about this for myself, but it's never been an important thing for me to find out about myself, I guess. Catalina, always a pleasure. Hello there. Hit that like, subscribe, and the bell for notifications if you like what we do here. It certainly makes a big difference. Trusting my own perception. Yes, Tammy, this is key. I'm scrolling up because when I get talking, I miss stuff. So I'll do some scrolling and we'll read some old stuff. Indigo's Insight says, I also think it's important to talk to other people. I don't struggle with addiction as an example, but I learn so much listening to people's stories, how I can be a better ally and advocate. I love this so much, Indigo. Thank you for just doing what you do and being who you are. I love it. I'm honored to have you on the boat. We're blessed to have you. Deeming says, I have a terrible. The button on the side of my mouse makes the internet go backwards, which is all too conveniently terrible. What was I saying? I have a terrible combo, says Deeming. I'm an empath and way too motherly. I always want to fix everything, cook, and clean your house. Now, I don't want to take your inventory, Deeming, but this seems like codependent behavior to me. I might be wrong, and if I am, I will be the first to admit it. But I mean, is there, when you are always wanting to fix, cook, and clean, is there something that you're running away from? Is there like a feeling or a thought that you just had that you don't want to have? Um, I wonder. I wonder. I wonder. The mothering is genetically in us, especially for women, right? But also fathering is a thing, right? Um, but that being said, when in extreme cases, right? I don't know if your case is extreme or not, but I can't tell if you're expressing that it is to me or not. It kind of seems like you are, but in extreme cases, this is definitely codependency, right? In extreme cases, mothering can become codependency. In fact, I forgot to talk about that aspect of it. We can become addicted to our children. My dad and I were talking about this, and he was telling me, especially when I was going to the doctors for the ADHD stuff, and all of that was going on. My dad was completely obsessed with thinking about what's going on in my world, what's going on with me, how I'm feeling, how I'm doing, to an unhealthy degree for sure. And in what would absolutely be called codependency. So, um, just things to think about. Just things to think about. Yeah, Brianna says, Deeming, want to come over? Hope Between the Dreams says, I thought I was just here to be an ally, then realized. Nice. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, needing help or realizing that we're, not in a position that we thought we were in, none of this is bad, right? This doesn't make us lesser. This doesn't make us weaker. Um, Honestly, it's just makes me happy that I can help. I don't want you to all to think poorly of this phenomenon, but if you find yourself thinking, "Oh, wait a second, maybe I can benefit from this," that's a good thing. That is a very, very good thing. And Deeming, I'm sure you're doing great, and I know you're gonna do even greater. I wasn't trying to put a damper on the day or anything, but it just sometimes things jump out at me, and I feel like if I don't say it, I'm not doing us a service. So thanks for receiving my message. There are worse things, there are definitely worse things. All right, y'all. One more time, hit that like, subscribe, and the bell for notifications if you like what we do here. I think I'm gonna finish my breakfast, finish my coffee, and finish cleaning. Honestly, we've rearranged. We've almost cleaned the whole house. Um, Maybe about tomorrow at this time, my house will be brand new. So wish me luck. I hope you guys have a great day. Remember, be gentle with yourself. All right. Um, this is a marathon, not a sprint, and I'm definitely more of a sprinter, folks. So we need all the help we can get. But thanks again for being here. You guys are the best crew a captain could have. Shout out to the admiral and all of our ripples as well, all the crew members out there. Love you guys, and Captain Calhoun out. I will see you soon.